so happy we alive.
Good evening, and welcome to Louisville Late Night. This evening we're in beautiful San Francisco, California.
Identification to avoid any possible counterfeit or confusion. Again, in my naivete, I believe they wanted the law. They wanted the law to actually work. Next slide. They didn't. Nothing has changed. And this is still the reality. Next slide. Okay, this is the extent to which I went to, and we're just going to bounce through these so fast. I don't want you to read them. You can talk to me about them later. But basically, I set out to do research. I wanted to know if this made you a better parent. Next slide. I had personal interviews with every one of my patients. I wanted to know how it controlled anger, how it controlled emotion, how it controlled your health, your attitude, your GI effects, your insight, your ability to be a human being. Next slide. And now we're back to, it's not a joke. I took it seriously. I took it as seriously as a 7th generation doctor could do. And they came at me with gunpoint. I'm now facing life in prison because I stood up and tried to do it right. Now, obviously, this is bullshit, but I don't know what we do now. And that's why we're here, to make a difference, because this is not a joke. This is not a joke. I fought for my life, and now I'm fighting for my life again, because I couldn't bear the thought that all of you were going to be abused and treated like you were non-humans. And I, because I'm a doctor and highly verbal, could overcome the system. But what about the man on Social Security? What about the person in the wheelchair? I had to go back to work. And when I first went back to work, I could only see 2 or 3 patients because I was so sick. And now, due to God's help and a miracle of many kinds, I am well. And I am going to live to fight this fight. And I'm going to fight this fight all the way to the Supreme Court if I have to. But the point is that this started out being a legitimate thing. I was so serious about making not only a legitimate note, but research showing that cannabis is an anti-anxiety medicine, an antidepressant, an anger control medicine, an insight medicine, a medicine that makes better parents. And still, with all that kind of preparation, I had a gun held to my head. Now, I don't know what else a real doctor could do, but I did everything that I thought was legitimate, and still, this happened. Thank you.
Dr.Mollie, you did great. You did great. I enjoyed talking to you and giving you the pep talk the last couple of days. She's got a lot of support here too.
Okay. But I still might go to jail.
David Bearman, I would like to introduce next. David Bearman he practices in Santa Barbara. He received his MD from the University of Washington School of Medicine. He graduated with honors from the University of Wisconsin and undergraduate degree in psychology. He was Director of Medical Services for the Santa Barbara Regional Health Authority, and since its inception in 1983 through June of '97, and was promoted to Senior Healthcare Advisor, Grants Development Director. In 1999, as Medical Director of Santa Barbara's Regional Health Authority, the first 14 years, he developed and implemented the Quality Assurance Utilization Review System and On-Site Review. He created Peer Review and Quality Improvement Committee and developed Targeted Case Management Program. He has a long background in the field of drug abuse treatment and prevention, has been prominent in the community clinic movement, having started in Seattle, the third free clinic in the country, directed the Haight-Ashbury Drug Treatment Program, and founded the Isla Vista Medical Clinic in 1970. He's been medical director of the Santa Barbara Methadone Maintenance Clinic and Ventura County Opiate Detox Program, taught courses on substance abuse at UCSF, UC Santa Barbara, and San Diego State University, been a consultant to Hoffman LaRoche, NIDA, and the National PTA, and directed several conferences. Currently, he is medical director of Zona Seca. Previously, he was director and health officer of the Sutter County Health Department, director of student health at San Diego State University, director, administrator, founder of the Isla Vista Medical Clinic, and medical officer of the U.S. Public Health Service. He is the author of numerous articles, and he has just published Demons, Discriminations, and Dollars, a brief history of the origins of drug policy, and will be signing copies in the lobby after this panel. David Bearman?
Okay, you can't beat an introduction when the fellow plugs your book for you, and you only had to twist his arm for 15 minutes. I did want to start by reading you a little something that was in the USA Today, in which FDA apparently is down on their reading. They haven't read the literature for the last 5,000 years. And they said there's no scientific studies to support the medical use of marijuana. Now, I'm going to read a definition that I have here of medicine and see what it is that the FDA doesn't get. Let's see, Webster's Revised Unabridged Dictionary says a medicine is any substance administered in the treatment of a disease, a remedial agent, or a remedy. I guess the FDA doesn't read Webster's. And I got a bunch of other definitions, but they all say more of the same. Now, the other thing is that, of course, we've got 18 studies that were done under the auspices of the University of California through the UCSD California Marijuana Research Center. And the ironic thing is that Canada, in a year ago, approved the sale of medicinal cannabis in Canada. It's called tincture cannabis, and I'm guessing that the problem is, again, lack of reading. And this really makes a great introduction for my talk, because we've got a lot of important issues that medical marijuana touches on. As several of the speakers earlier have said, this is much more important than cannabis. It has to do with the Constitution, with the First, Fourth, Fifth, 10th Amendment, and the question of whether or not HHS has to follow the Data Quality Act. Do the FDA protocols make sense? What about drug safety? I mean, here we have 5,000 years of experience versus Vioxx, and a few years of research there. We have the whole issue of the area of complementary and alternative medicines versus manufactured medicines. The whole idea of a single manufactured chemical is somehow better than an herb that has 5,000 years of history. Unfortunately, maybe it hasn't gone through the rigor of Vioxx. I say that firmly tongue-in-cheek because it has gone through the rigor of Vioxx and much more. Maybe what the FDA should do is make stiffer regulations for Vioxx and actually do their job. The other question is, who sets the standards of care? And that sort of brings us to think about the medical board, and I want to get to them in just a second. So we've got a war on drugs here in the U.S. It's really a war on America, a war on the American way of life, and on the American people. And of course, we all know that war is illogical, and the FDA just underscored that today. I wonder, the government seems to have convinced themselves that medicinal cannabis should be illegal. I've never been able to figure out how they stretch that to hemp. And Jack Here's story probably makes as much sense as anything. And of course, we all know if today's laws were in effect when in colonial days, Washington and Jefferson would have been locked up long ago. The laws regarding cannabis tend to undermine our constitutional rights, undermine the Constitution.